session, we will talk about the flow of information from DNA to the protein, right? So, which is called central dogma of molecular biology. We call it as CDMB. What does CDMB stands for? It stands for Central Dogma of Molecular Biology. Central Dogma of Molecular Biology. Who explained the concept of CDMB, Central Dogma Molecular Biology, means Crick. In the year 1958, he explained. What did he explain? He explained the unidirectional flow of information from the DNA. He explained the unidirectional flow of information. He explained the unidirectional flow of information from DNA. So, how did he explain? What are the three main steps he explained? He told DNA by the process of replication gets converted to DNA. So, the process of making one more DNA at the time of division, he called it as replication. Now, this is the first step. Now, DNA, it can get converted to RNA. So, DNA to RNA synthesis is a next step, which he called it as transcription. Then, the flow of information is unidirectional. DNA to DNA at the time of replication, DNA to RNA at the time of transcription. Then the third mechanism is RNA to protein, so which is called as translation. So this is what protein synthesis. This is what is a unidirectional flow of information from DNA to RNA, from RNA to protein. What is this concept called? It's a main essence of molecular biology. It's a central dogma of molecular biology. Who explained it? Crick explained it. When did Crick explain it? He explained it in the year 1958, followed by, in the next, Commoner. In the year 1968, he gave the circular flow of information. He explained circular flow of information. Now, what is the circular flow of information? What he explained is, so this is DNA. He told DNA to RNA and RNA to protein. Again, he tells that protein to RNA, RNA to DNA. This is what is the circular flow of information he gave, but there were no clues or hints whether this circular flow of information has been accepted or not. What we accept is unidirectional flow of information, which works with majority of the organisms. So, Crick explained the central dogma of molecular biology. So, Crick in 1958 explained the unidirectional flow of information from the DNA, which include three main steps: replication, transcription, translation. Replication means DNA to DNA, transcription means DNA to RNA, translation means RNA to protein. Whereas Commoner in the year 1968 explained the circular flow of information. Whereas there are some organisms, we are telling that central dogma of molecular biology is applicable for those organisms where DNA is the genetic material. This is applicable for the organisms where DNA is the genetic material. But then there are some organisms like tobacco mosaic virus, HIV virus, coronavirus. These are having QB mosaic virus. These are having RNA as a genetic material. Then what is the flow there? Then there are two scientists independently. They worked on a process in the year 1970. Their names: the first scientist name is Temin. The next scientist name is Baltimore. Both of them independently in the year 1970. They worked on a virus which is called RSV. RSV means it is called Ross sarcoma virus. Ross sarcoma virus, which is a retrovirus. It is a retrovirus like HIV virus. it is a retrovirus like HIV virus. So in Ross sarcoma virus, in HIV virus, RNA is the genetic material. So because they are having RNA as the genetic material. If RNA is the genetic material, we should call it as gRNA, genetic RNA. Now, it's not the DNA, so you cannot start from DNA and you can go in one directional flow. So here it is reverse flow of genetic information, means so RNA should make DNA. RNA should make DNA. Why? Because they are retroviruses. They have RNA as the genetic material. So RNA makes DNA. DNA to RNA, we know it is transcription. But I am telling here the flow of information is in reverse direction. So this is called as, this step is called as reverse transcription. This step is called as reverse transcription, where RNA makes DNA. Then this DNA can undergo replication. It can undergo replication. Later, the DNA can make RNA. So DNA to RNA, we already know that step is called transcription. Now, the earlier RNA which is made is gRNA, genetic RNA. But now the RNA which is made from DNA is called either mRNA, rRNA, tRNA. It's non-genetic RNA. Then that non-genetic RNA helps in making a protein particle. So this process is called as translation or protein synthesis. Since the information is flowing in reverse direction, this is called reversal of CDMB. This is called reversal of CDMB, reversal of central dogma molecular biology. Where can we see? We can see it in the viruses, retroviruses, where RNA is the genetic material. There, from the genetic RNA, we need to make DNA. The process is called reverse transcription. Then the DNA undergoes replication. Then from the DNA to RNA transcription. Then from the RNA to protein translation. One more step got added and it went reverse. So we are calling it as reversal of central dogma of molecular biology, right? This process is called reverse transcription. Reverse transcription is also called teminism because Temin identified it, right? So in Ross sarcoma virus, where RNA is the genetic material, RNA to DNA we are making. All of us know RNA is single stranded, but DNA should be double stranded. So from one strand of RNA, we'll make one strand of DNA. Then another strand should be made, right? Then from one strand, it will make another strand. So that is complementary. So we call it a cDNA. So after reverse transcription, whatever DNA we are getting is called cDNA. It is called complementary DNA. So what is this process called? This process from RNA to cDNA is called as reverse transcription. It is called as reverse transcription. So mediated by an enzyme called reverse transcriptase. It is mediated by an enzyme called reverse transcriptase. Reverse transcriptase enzyme is also called as teminase because temin worked on it, right? So it is also called teminase. So similarly, reverse transcription is also called teminism. This is also called teminism. The process is called reverse transcription or teminism. cDNA is made. From this cDNA, again replication, transcription and translation will happen. So this is the process which Temin and Baltimore observed in the retroviruses. So this is our concept. What is it? It is central dogma of molecular biology. What is the, we told what is central dogma? It's the main essence of molecular biology. So three main processes we are talking. One is replication. The second one is transcription. The third one is translation. So now in today's class, we will start with the first important step, that is replication. Let's go on. Now, what is replication? Replication is a process of making an exact copy of DNA. So what is replication? It is a process of synthesizing a DNA. Replication. Now, the process of replication. What is replication? It is the process of copying DNA. making one more DNA molecules. In prokaryotes, like bacteria, when does replication occurs? At the time of binary fission. In prokaryotes like bacteria, so replication, when does it occur? It occurs at the time of binary fission, at the time of cell division, that is binary fission. So prokaryotes doesn't have any cell cycle called I phase and M phase, whereas in eukaryotes, so we have a perfect cell cycle called I phase. I phase is interphase, which is again divided into G1 phase, S phase and G2 phase. G1 phase is a first gap phase, S phase is a synthetic phase. Synthetic phase means where the synthesis of DNA happens. So in eukaryotes, we can tell, in eukaryotes, when will replication occur? Replication occurs when? In S phase of cell cycle. Where is S phase? S phase is in I phase. So in eukaryotes, replication occurs in the S phase, synthetic phase, replication will happen. Okay. Now, after I phase, so when we see, this is the cell cycle, this much only is M phase, all this is I phase only, right? This much only is M phase, all this is I phase. The first phase is called G1 phase. The next phase is called S phase. This phase is called G2 phase. And this phase is called M phase. In this M phase, we have division of the nucleus, division of the cytoplasm. Division of the nucleus is called karyokinesis. What is this called? Karyokinesis. What is this called? Division of cytoplasm called cytokinesis. Division of nucleus is called karyokinesis. Division of cytoplasm is called cytokinesis. Right? So, after S phase, in the S phase, the DNA replicates. In this phase, the DNA replicates. When the DNA replicates, that replicated DNA will divide here and the cell also will divide. So, as a result, what happens? We will get two cells. When one cell starts, after karyokinesis and cytokinesis, two cells we will get. So, we will tell that the replication should be followed by cell division also. Replication is happening means DNA is dividing. But if the cell is not dividing, so what happens? In the same cell, polyploidy, many genomes will be there, many DNAs will be there. So, we tell that replication and cell division, or replication and cytokinesis. Cytokinesis means cell division, should be coordinated. They should be coordinated, followed by one another. If not, what happens? If not, it leads to polyploidy. What is polyploidy? Polyploidy means having many genomes. Because DNA is replicating again and again. So, it results in 2n, 3n, 4n, 5n. That is polyploidy, abnormal condition. So, what is replication, children? Replication is a mechanism of copying the DNA. Right? Who proposed the structure of DNA? Watson and Crick proposed the structure of DNA. So, Watson and Crick, when they have proposed the structure of DNA in the month, in the mid-April, in the mid-March, in 1953, then itself they made a statement. They told that it did not escape from our notice that the base complementarity what we have suggested is also explaining the replication scheme of the organisms. So, Watson and Crick in 1953, when they have proposed, what did they propose? Double helical structure of DNA. When they have proposed the double helical structure of DNA, when these people have proposed the double helical structure of DNA, then itself they told that the base complementarity what we have suggested is also explaining the mechanism of replication. So, they told the base complementarity also explains It also explains the method of DNA replication. They told it explains the method of DNA replication. So what model did they tell? So they told that the DNA replicates semi-conservatively. Watson and Crick, they told DNA replicates semi-conservatively. DNA replicates semi-conservatively. This is what is they told. Now we need to understand what is semi-conservative method of replication. If we have to understand semi-conservative method of replication, so we will see what is meant by conservative first. Then we will see what is semi-conservative. And then we can see what is dispersive also. We can see what is dispersive also. Now, what is meant by conservative method of replication? So, in conservative method of replication, you take the DNA. This is a parental DNA. From parental DNA, after replication, we will get daughter DNAs. So, what is this? Parental DNA. So, we need to get daughter DNA. So, in conservative method of replication, so it is like both the parental strands of the DNA are conserved for one daughter cell only. So, both these parental strands are conserved for one daughter cell only, and the next daughter cell will receive both new strands only, they tell. So, the next daughter cell will receive both the new strands. So, they tell that when one bacteria is dividing, okay, so then both the parental strands are conserved for one daughter and the other daughter will purely receive the newly synthesized strands. So, these are parental strands. Both the parental strands are conserved for one daughter itself. They are conserved for one daughter itself. Whereas another daughter, the next daughter received, what did the daughter receive? The next daughter received two new strands only. It has received both the new strands. Such a type of replication is called conservative replication. Now let us see what is semi-conservative. Semi-conservative is a one Watson and Crick told, and they have told that DNA replicates semi-conservatively. In semi-conservatively, this is a parent DNA. This is a parent DNA. So when the parent is splitting to make two daughter cells by binary fission, now two DNAs we have to make. In semi-conservative, they tell that one parental DNA to one daughter cell, another parental DNA to another daughter cell, they tell. Now taking this as a template, taking this parental DNA as a template, now the daughter strand will be synthesized here. Again, taking this as a template, the daughter strand will be synthesized here. So that means both the daughter cells have received one parental and one daughter strand. So these are two daughter cells. So both the daughter cells have received, what did they receive? They received one parental strand and one daughter strand they received. So this is what is semi-conservative. They believe it, and then who proved it we will see. Now coming to the third method, dispersive. In the dispersive method, we tell that if this is a parental DNA, when it has to get distributed into the daughter cells, it's a dispersive method. Dispersive method means here you told 100% conserved. Here you told 50% conserved. Now in dispersive mechanism, you cannot tell the percentage. It is dispersive, it is disruptive, you cannot define the percentages. So randomly, one can receive 10%, other can receive 90%. One can receive 20%, other can receive 80%. One can receive 30%, other can receive 70%. So it is dispersive. Dispersive means it's randomly the parental DNA will get distributed. It is randomly the parental DNA will get distributed. So here I am showing 3 pieces, here I am showing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pieces I am showing. So it is random distribution, unequal distribution. So then taking this daughter strand, taking this daughter strand, taking this daughter strand. Here also taking this, the daughter strand will be prepared, taking this as a template, here the daughter strand, here the daughter strand, here the daughter strand. So then it will become double stranded. So can you come to any conclusion? Can you give any percentages here? No, it is dispersive. Means both the daughter cells are receiving both parental and the newly synthesized, but not in a defined proportion. So what can we write here? What can we write here? Both the daughter cells receive, they are receiving the parental and new strand. They are receiving the parental strand and new strand, but in not a defined proportion, but in a not defined percentage. That's called dispersive method. So then these are the three methods, but Watson and Crick believe it is semi-conservative method. And then who are the scientists told that yeah, they are correct, it replicates semi-conservatively? So if you just tell people will accept, no, you have to come with an experimental evidence. So Michelson and Stahl conducted experiment and they've told that yes, DNA replicates semi-conservatively. In which year? In 1958. Now we will see the experimental evidence which supports the semi-conservative method of replication. So we understood what is semi-conservative. Now we'll see the experimental evidence also now, which was given by the experimental proof for semi-conservative method was given by Michelson and Stahl in the year 1958. We'll see that now. Now the experimental material for Michelson and Stahl is a bacteria, it is E. coli. So what are the names of the scientists? Matthew Michelson and Franklin Stahl in the year 1958 in E. coli. So they gave the experimental evidence for what? For the semi-conservative method of DNA replication. Semi-conservative method of DNA replication. Who proposed it? Watson and Crick. Proposed by Watson and Crick children. Did you understand the sentence? So Matthew Michelson and Franklin Stahl, so they have conducted experiments in E. coli in the year 1958 and they gave the experimental evidence, yes, that in E. coli or in organisms, DNA replicates semi-conservatively only. How did they proceed with the experiment? We will see. So first, what they have taken? So they have taken the E. coli cells. They have taken the E. coli cells and they are culturing the cells. They are culturing the cells in heavy isotope medium. They are culturing the cells in a heavy isotope. What is that? N15 ammonium chloride solution. They are culturing it in N15 ammonium chloride solution for several generations. They are culturing bacteria in a heavy isotope. What is heavy isotope? Ammonium chloride, N15 ammonium chloride. Remember one point, it is not a radioisotope. If it is a radioisotope, you can check only with autoradioactivity. Autoradiography you can check. It is not a radioisotope, it is just an isotope. You can check it by checking the density. It's a heavy isotope, right? So they're culturing the E. coli for several generations in N15 medium to ensure that whatever the DNA is there in the parental bacteria, adenine, guanine, thymine, cytosine, all these things, wherever the nitrogen is there, 1, 3, 5, 7, 1, 3, all the nitrogen will be replaced by N15, will be replaced by heavy isotope N15. After doing this, then they will do density centrifugation. So they will do, I told, you can check its presence by doing density gradient centrifugation. They have done density gradient centrifugation. Since it is not a radioisotope, you cannot do autoradiography. Then since it is a density material, you can do density gradient centrifugation. What is centrifugation? It's a separation technique. So if it is denser, very much denser, gravitational force is sufficient to separate it basing on its density. But if it is not that denser, so gravitational force, if you feel it is not sufficient, then we'll take an instrument which is called centrifuge, where we will supply additional force in terms of centrifugal force, which helps in separation of the particles. Centrifugal means away from the center. Away from the center means, if you take a test tube, away from the center means towards the bottom. The separation happens at the bottom, so it will be nicely settled down. It will not get disturbed. So if we apply centrifugal force, we are separating the particle basing on the density. It is called density gradient centrifugation. For that, you need to prepare a density gradient column also. So they have done density gradient centrifugation. So they have prepared a density gradient test tube by using a density gradient material. What is the density gradient material they used? They used cesium chloride. They used cesium chloride as a density gradient material to prepare a test tube. Now, they have prepared a cesium chloride density gradient test tube, and they are checking for the parental DNA. So they want to see, they want to confirm that in the parental DNA, all the nitrogens, are they incorporated with N15 or not? So this is a parental DNA. Both the DNAs are labeled with N15. How did they ensure? They have done density gradient centrifugation. Means when they have done the density gradient centrifugation, they have taken a density gradient test tube, right? So in the density gradient test tube, so since it is a heavy isotope, where will they get the sedimentation? They got the sedimentation at the bottom of the test tube. So they got the sedimentation at the bottom of the test tube, indicating this is N15. It is a heavy DNA. So it is a heavy DNA. So now they are happy. They want to incorporate heavy isotope. Yeah, they got incorporated. Now they have taken E. coli. Generation time is 20 minutes. Then after every 20 minutes of interval, they are collecting the DNA sample. After every 20 minutes of interval, they are collecting the sample. Now we know in 20 minutes DNA will replicate. So it will become twice. Means one DNA. So will become 2 DNAs. So this and this is 15 and 15 parental DNAs. Now what they have done, after checking this, they have shifted the bacteria from N15 heavy isotope medium to a normal isotope medium, N14 light isotope medium. They have shifted. After shifting them to the N14 medium, they are collecting the samples every 20 minutes and they are checking. So when they have collected the samples after 20 minutes, where one DNA became 2 DNA molecules, then the daughter strands will take the N14, right? The daughter strands will take N14 because what medium is there? N14 isotope, light isotope is there. So the daughter strands are incorporated with N14. So again, they did centrifugation here. When they have done density gradient centrifugation and a density gradient column. So when they have checked for the radioactivity, so now these DNAs are not heavy DNAs because both are not heavy. One is heavy, other one is light. So then it will become an intermediate, right? It will become an intermediate, or we can call it as a hybrid. So in hybrid, the 14 will make a band here and the 15 will make a band behind it because 15 is little much heavy. So 15 will make a band at the bottom of the test tube because it is heavy. 15 and 14, so which is called hybrid DNA. So this is heavy DNA. This one is called hybrid DNA. It makes a band at the intermediate level. Here it made a band at the bottom. Right? So like this they got. Now again, where is the bacteria? Still it is there in the N14 medium only. Now I told they are collecting at irregular intervals. So this is the 0 generation. parental generation. So here this comes the first generation, and next one after 20 minutes again they did, right? So that means 20 plus 20, it's actually 40 minutes. It's actually 40 minutes. In 40 minutes what happens? One DNA, one bacteria became 2 bacteria. In 40 minutes 2 bacteria will become 4 bacteria. So when the 2 bacteria becomes 4 bacteria, right? So these two are N15s. Where is it? It is still in N14 medium only. Then the other one also will go. This is a 14 and this is a 14. Where are you culturing? You are culturing in N14 medium. So when you are culturing in N14 medium, so all the new strands are 14. So all the new strands are 14. So when 2 DNA became 4 DNA, so all the new strands are 14. This is 14 children, this is also 14, this is also 14, this is also 14, this is also 14, this is also 14. 14 proportion got increased because you're culturing them in light medium, whereas 15 remained still the same, 15 and 15. Here also 2 strands, here also 2 strands, here also 2 strands. And when they have done density gradient centrifugation for the second generation, 40 minute sample, when they have taken a test tube. So now if you see this, these two are same like these two, means they are hybrid, whereas this one and this one both are having 14 each, which is a light isotope. That means, so 14 is light because then it will make at the top. This is 14, it is light DNA. It is light DNA, whereas 14 and 15 also we got, right? It is the hybrid DNA. It is the hybrid DNA. So at 0 minute you take, both of them are heavy. At 20 minutes you take, both the DNAs are hybrid DNAs, 115 and 114. At 40 minutes when you take, you got 4 DNA molecules, out of which 2 are light, 2 are light and 2 are hybrids. So this experiment proved that the DNA is semi-conservative. Everywhere this DNA equally got distributed into 2 daughter cells. Now for the next one, red is also parental, green is also parental. So the red also got distributed, green also got distributed, red also got distributed, green also got distributed. So this experiment proves DNA replicates semi-conservatively. What is this experiment? It's called Hershey and Chase. It is it's isotope technique. It is not radioisotope technique because we are doing density gradient centrifugation. We are not going autoradiography, right? So on this they will ask us numericals. What numericals they will ask us, we will see. If they ask us, so this is the experiment which proves which gave the experimental evidence that DNA replicates semi-conservatively. They will ask you, they will ask you at 0 generation, at the parental generation, what is the ratio of 15 to 15? What with 15 to 14? 14 to 14 they will ask you. So come on, this is the 0 generation. In 0 generation, 15 to 15 are there, only one DNA molecule is there. So at 0 generation, 15 to 15 is 1. Whereas in 0 generation, we did not find any 15 to 14 here. So it is 0. We also did not find any 14 here. So this will also be 0. Now then if they ask you at 20 minutes, means first generation. At first generation, this is our first generation. In first generation, so how many are 15? Is there any 15 band here? No, because it is semi-conservative. It got distributed both. So then you got 2 DNA molecules. Both of them are hybrids, means 115 and 114. Means to tell 15 are 0, whereas 15 are 2. 14 also we did not get 0. Then in the second generation, first generation means 20 minutes sample, second generation means 40 minutes sample. This is our 40 minutes sample. So that means this is a second generation. 2 DNA molecules became 1, 2, 3, 4 DNA molecules. Now here also we did not get any 15 to 15. So in 40 minutes also it is 0. Then 15 to 14, yes we got 15 to 14, 1 and 2. So 2 we got. Then 14 to 14, yes, we got 14 to 14, 1 and 2. This also 2 we got. NCERT asks a question. So what is the 60-minute sample and what happens at the 80-minute sample? Means they are asking us the third generation ratio. They are asking us the fourth generation ratio. So 1 became 2 in first generation, 2 became 4 in second generation, 4 will become 8 in third generation. So 15, 15 we will never get again. So then when 2 becomes 4 in the third generation, we are seeing that the 14, 14 is increasing. That means when 2 becomes 4, when 4 becomes 8, 2 became 4, 4 becomes 8. In that 8, 6 will be 14, 14 and 2 will be hybrid. Why hybrid? Because only 2 15s are there, parental strands. Rest all are 14s because you are culturing them in 14. So this will increase. Out of 8, 6 are light, 2 are intermediate, heavy is 0. Now fourth generation, 80-minute sample. So 6 plus 2, 8, 8 will become 16. In 16 minutes also 15, 15 will be 0, and out of 16, 14 will be light and not 14, 8 2s, 6 plus 2, 8, 8 2s are 16. So out of 16, 14 are light and 2 are hybrids. So what are we checking here? We are checking the ratios. So the ratios, they tell that the DNA is the 14 DNA, the 14 strand DNA, means the light DNA proportion is increasing, which tells that the DNA replicates semi-conservatively. It replicates semi-conservatively. In the same year, one more scientist called Taylor in the year 1958, in Vicia faba, in a plant called Vicia faba, in the roots of Vicia faba, okay, it's called faba bean. It is Vicia faba, it's called faba bean. In the roots of faba bean, he used a radioisotope. This is density isotope, that is radioisotope. He used radioisotope. What is that? H3. So he used thymidine. Which is a radioisotope. And he also came to know that the faba beans chromosomes are having 50-50 proportion, means 50% parental and 50% are hybrids. So one, Hershey and Michelson and Stahl gave the same proof. The other one, Taylor, in the year 1958, in faba beans, using the roots, he used radioactive thymidine. He used radioactive titrated thymidine, and he also told that DNA replicates semi-conservatively. So this is an experimental proof for semi-conservative method of replication. Hope you understood the experimental proof. In the next class, we'll talk about the machinery of replication and the process of replication. So if you like the information, like, share and subscribe to my channel. Thank you.